Do we have a treat for you tonight? A treat, that is, for your culinary senses. Hi, everybody. I'm Joni Sutter for Nutmeg TV, here to introduce the next half hour of Kitchen Art with Nick Augustino. For those of you who are not familiar with Nick, he is the owner of the East Side Restaurant in New Britain, and Nick has agreed to share the art of kitchen with us. Hey!
Well, hello, Joni, back again.
Welcome back.
Let's get started talking about the best things I like to talk about.
Absolutely.
Restaurants, food, and customers.
And before we do that, the show name is Kitchen Art with Nick Augustino. So where's the kitchen art coming from?
Well, actually, kitchen art comes from my father. My father wrote a book called Kitchen Art. And the book was more of the theory of kitchens and restaurants and how to make money. So it wasn't so much of how to make the food, but making the food to make money. So this is more or less what the kitchen art theme is all about.
Okay, so we're going to learn a little bit.
We're going to learn to see how we can make food, make money. And I'm going to throw those in to show you how that works. Basically, if you're looking, today we're going to be making a gratin potatoes.
Well, who's this person over here on your right is Sherry. And Sherry, you are Nick's daughter.
Yes.
And so we're so happy to have you here because you're the executive chef over at the East Side Restaurant, and I know you have a lot of responsibilities over there. And so gratin potatoes is on the menu for today?
Yes.
A gratin potatoes. And what we're looking to do here is show you that we're going to cook a gratin potatoes today. And then that's going to make tomorrow's corn chowder.
Aha.
So there's the secret.
Repurposing.
That's right.
Okay.
So we don't want to run out of a gratin potatoes on a Saturday night and a Sunday because we only make them for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we make a lot so that we have something left over to make corn chowder. And that's how we end up saving and being able to make enough product not to run out as far as potatoes and to be able to stretch it and go right into a corn chowder.
Now, are all your potatoes pre-cut, Sherry, or is that something that you have to, the potato you have to prepare from start to finish, or?
Yes, we do about 100 pounds of potatoes every week.
Okay.
We make about 8 hotel pans of a gratin potato to last
Big
the weekend.
seller.
Yes.
Big seller
Yes.
at the restaurant.
Big seller.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we use a Hobart mixer with a slicer on it, and we'll slice the 100 pounds of potatoes.
So it'll go right in instead of spinning there with a knife, spinning 40 minutes, slicing 50 pounds or 100 pounds of potatoes. Goes through, and it becomes more uniform.
Okay.
As you notice, as far as more uniform goes.
Okay. Yes, I can see that. All right. But that potato isn't turning a color. And doesn't a potato, once you, like if you're going to do a potato pancake, which hopefully we'll get to talk about in another show, but doesn't that turn when you do a potato?
Actually, we keep it soaked in water
You do?
with some lemon.
Okay.
And it stops it from turning black.
Keeps it nice and white so when you
Yep.
get that finished
And we
product,
ice it
it's
down really well, so it saves.
good. Wonderful.
And once we bring it to a boil, that's when you're going to get the starch look before it's cooked. So basically, they're slicing it at night, and the next morning we're going to be boiling up for the potatoes.
Okay.
And that's
As Sherry's moving along here with the potatoes, and we'll be talking about how she's doing that, how did you get started in the business of, I mean, the restaurant business? Weathersfield comes to mind?
Yeah, well, Weathersfield does, but I already had about 8 years of training by the time I hit 17 years old to go to Weathersfield. I grew up in Portland, and there was a little diner called Speed's Diner. And in the morning before I go there, it was my Uncle Speed actually, in the morning before I go there, they'd put me on an orange crate, I'd be making breakfast on the grill, and at night I'd come back and wash dishes. My father was the chef at a Monty Green Inn in Middletown, and when I hit 14 years old, he brought me into his kitchen. And working for your father, you had to learn. There was no choices. He had a boss to look at. And then as soon as I finished with the Monty Green and got a real good education on what I call food, good food, I went to school. I took an apprentice program for 3 years. I learned from some of the top, I was very fortunate to learn from some of the top chefs around because my father was a chef already, brought me to the Connecticut Chefs Association, introduced me to the right people, and educated me. The first right person was the president of the Restaurant Association. It was Phil Nussbaum. And Phil more or less said, they would let me take my apprenticeship there and said, I want that guy. I've heard of him, I want that guy. So I was very fortunate to get the job at the Weathersfield Clam Box. It was a huge seafood restaurant and did big numbers. And they wanted to get into the catering business, which I was pretty much good in. My uncle was a caterer, so I actually worked for him as well. So when I got there, I got right into the seafood business and did almost a 3.5-year stint with Phil. until finally I ended up taking my own chef's job at Indian Hill Country Club. I stayed at Indian Hill for 5.5 years, and I was the executive chef there.
Okay.
We started into the prime rib business with weddings. I was just about one of the first that we did the package plan.
Remember that?
You got the band, the bar for 4 hours, the food,
The whole
tax,
thing.
tip, everything included for $19.95.
You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Well, Nick, was this one of the recipes that you guys developed yourselves, or
Well,
did you bring this one with you?
Well, Bill showed us his au gratin potatoes.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, me and Sherry kind of know what we like for au gratin potatoes, and usually we didn't subject Bill. Anything Bill liked to cook, we learned and cooked it his way. But when you're talking potatoes, you can actually use your own. And this is the way my daughter and me produced it, and we like to make a cream sauce.
Okay,
with
tell us
chicken base.
tell us how you're starting that here.
So what she's doing here is she's warming up milk, and she's going to spice this up with white pepper, some chicken base, some, I don't think you put black pepper in, do you, Sherry?
A little bit.
A little bit of black pepper.
Okay, we'll put
And
that
salt.
so the viewers can see there.
Okay.
Okay, let's get, so now this is
White pepper.
white pepper. Okay.
That's sugar. We'll save that for
Sugar.
later.
Here we've got a little
Black pepper, chicken base.
Oh, this is a chicken, oh, it's a paste.
Yeah.
Okay,
Grated cheese.
yeah,
And we top everything off with breadcrumb.
let's put this here. Okay, and here's our breadcrumb, and I see, let me bring that one right down here. We're gonna see how, that's very, very fine.
Well, we
Very
get our
fine.
breadcrumbs from a company in Pennsylvania because we bred a lot of cutlets, and what makes our cutlets a little up is that we order a special breadcrumb, and we learned that from Bill. So you'll find our breadcrumb is extra, extra fine, and that makes a better cutlet or topping to our gratins and anything else that we might use breadcrumb for.
What I'd like to do is just ask if we can move the camera a little bit so we can see the top of what Sherry's doing in there, because I know we're not seeing that burner, so maybe we can do that. What did you just put in there, Sherry?
Grated cheese.
Okay, so we're gonna stir that in
Once
there.
I
good.
once I bring the milk
There
up
we
to
go.
temp.
Beautiful. See how nice that is? Because you don't want lumps in there, right?
Yep, and we do not want the milk to boil. It will separate the milk. So we bring it right just to a boil, and then we'll add the cheese, and then the cheese will melt.
Okay, so when you say the milk separates it, the cream
You'll
base.
see the
of-
curd.
Okay,
Milk,
and then that's it. You can't ever go back.
Egg drops.
Egg chops.
That's what
Okay,
we must.
absolutely.
So now that she's got the cream sauce, all cheese-based, chicken-based, got a nice flavor to it. May I check?
Spot
time.
on, spot
Every
on.
time. And she's going to take those to the boiled potatoes.
Yep.
So as soon as she gets it to a point, she'll have her potatoes ready to be boiled, which she's going to go in now. We got another 4 minutes on those potatoes.
Let's talk about in the kitchen, what the chef. You know, I was asking you before about the hierarchy in the kitchen, and most of us, maybe that are dining out, don't understand the hierarchy. You know, there's the chef, and you know, maybe there's a sous chef, and then there's, you know.
Our kitchen, we have to have a butcher. We're going to go from we're going to go through the round kitchen as far as East Side's kitchen.
Okay.
Yes, we have an executive chef, which is Sherry. 13 years, created her own menu, knows every recipe that she has to perform, able to create even bigger and more since she's got the menu totally under control. She's able to bring in other things and test other things.
Okay.
Then we have our personal sous chef who makes sure that Sherry gets everything she needs, time off if she needs it, makes sure the food's at the quality that Sherry wants, and does some of the purchasing, but Sherry does most of all her own purchasing. But he will do like this fish purchasing, he will do some of the produce purchasing. Then we go right to our pantry girl, Maria. She's been with us about 8 years. She makes all the cream pies. She makes the apple pie, the strudels, the cakes, the black forest cakes. So she's a pantry, and she works around 40 hours a week making all our cakes, desserts, pies, salads, salad dressings, all the way through.
Okay.
Now you go around to line. We have 3 line people, which are very fast.
What's their responsibility?
Their responsibility is cooking the food, putting it on a plate, and putting it out.
Okay.
Portion-wise, they know how every portion should look the same. Even though I have a guy come, Nick, I want to thank you, boy, you gave me this thick a piece of pork.
Right.
That's not good.
Oh.
I go into the kitchen, I look at the cook, and he says, yeah, I had the piece, I throw it out. No big deal, because I couldn't use it anyways on the next slice. But it is a big deal. Because if the customer gets a piece this time this thick, and then comes back the next time and gets a piece this thick,
why aren't
it's
I
not
important?
consistent.
Right.
What happened here? Did you cut down on your portions? All this.
Right.
So consistency in portions is the line person's responsibility, as well as Ramsey, as well as the chef on the other side. Receiving the food, you look at the plate, you make sure everyone's pretty much identical. Because the minute you change, don't think the customer doesn't recognize it. It's something they're eating, it's something they're putting in their stomach. They real recognize change, even in mixed drinks, even in beer. Anything that you do, if they're coming there, they're a regular, they know your product, that's the reason why they're coming back.
Well, thank you for that. That's a good look at the inside of the kitchen. Now, when we look, let's go back to these potatoes a minute. We had a nice shot of those potatoes. Now, Sherry, are you layering them, you know, in a certain, or not really?
Nope.
They just go in like that, and
Go in
we'll
like
have a
that.
shot of that in a minute. And so these have been parboiled or fully?
I'd say 75%.
Okay.
Because we're still going to bake them off in the oven for 45
Bake
minutes.
them off in the oven. Okay. Very good.
Now
So
we'll
you're
look-
going to add the cream now, huh? The
Yep,
sauce.
the cheese sauce will go in now.
Now, how much sauce are you using per how many potatoes? It's just kind of a look and feel to see?
It's a look and feel. I get kind of used to it after doing so many a week. I would say probably there'll be about 4 cups of milk in here, cheese sauce, for about, this is probably 7 pounds of potatoes.
Okay.
Now, because it,
That looks good.
Doesn't it? It smells awesome.
It's only potatoes.
You wanna
It's
make
only
it-
potatoes.
Potatoes are a huge staple in many cultural
I was
diets,
up at
aren't
this
they?
hog penny pub, and it's a skiing place. And it was during the summer, no skiing, so you're able to get the condos real cheap. And we went up with another couple, and so we went into their bar. It was like a condominium that had a bar in the front. No one was there. No, and the bar was open. None of the owner wasn't there. Nothing. We went up there, threw money on the bar, and had a couple drinks, made them ourselves, and we got hungry. So we looked in the kitchen. They had nothing but salt. The whole kitchen, nothing but salt. And so when we looked, I said, geez, I seen a guy selling potatoes for $1 a bag. So I went outside, I picked up a bag of potatoes, I boiled them, and we served steamed potatoes. And he did have a pound of butter, because we put butter, salt, steamed potatoes, and put them in the jar, and that's what we were eating when we were drinking. The guy comes in. He looks at me, and I go, how you doing, Nick Augustino? We having a couple drinks? Fine. Oh, what are you eating?
We made our
I
own
got no
food.
food here. Oh, I got steamed potatoes. Oh, next thing you know, another couple comes in there. Everybody's eating these steamed potatoes that I boiled. Well, I went back 2 years ago, and that's what he specializes in.
Steamed potatoes.
Free steamed potatoes, always on his bar, and he's got more people in there eating steamed potatoes and drinking beer. And tell you the truth, I got free meal that day, free potatoes, free drinks, and everything. But he still remembers me.
Now, the key to a good potato is the breadcrumb on top, Sherry?
Yes.
Is that kind of what finishes it off?
Yeah, it gives it a little crust.
Now, during the baking process, the potato will absorb some of that.
Yes, that's
Cream
why you put a
sauce?
little bit of extra. It
Okay.
seems a little wet, but
Yeah.
the potato will absorb it. And the breadcrumb also.
And you don't have to butter your pan prior to or prepare it in any way,
Nope.
and it won't stick.
Go. And then what we top it with is some grated cheese.
Hey, okay, so you get that the cheese
Little
melted
golden
on top.
crust,
Yeah, that's what everybody
Very
likes.
good. Yes.
Yeah. If you give me the ground potatoes, you got to give me some of that cheesy crust.
You have to.
That's the key.
You know. Now, what are some of the parts of the kitchen that can be the most challenging for a chef? Here Sherry is. She's doing her cheese. Now, if I'm the sous chef and I know that that's how Sherry wants that pan done, then that's what I'm going to do. Exactly what and she'll probably take a look at it and say, all right, that's good to go. But what are some of the
The
challenges
challenges.
for somebody
Yep.
like Sherry who's in the kitchen?
The challenge is trying to figure out product, how much product to make. We put on 30 orders of pork. In the first hour, 30 people walk through the door and they all want pork. We're going through a Saturday night without pork and people don't understand it. What do you mean? No pork? I come here just for the pork. So her biggest challenge is figuring out how much product. How much product do we need for a Saturday night? We're doing 600 customers. How many of them are going to eat prime rib? How many are going to have duck? How many are going to have? So that's your challenge. She'll look at me, Dad, do we throw on 2 prime rib or 3 prime rib tonight?
No, it's a guess.
It's all a guess. And your guests really get upset if they come there for east side prime rib or short rib or duck and we don't have it. And that's our biggest complaint, is that sometimes we do so much business that sometimes on a Sunday night, we're not going to go downstairs and be able to produce sausage, and we run out of sausage. And the worst thing to run out of is cottage cheese and coleslaw. I already told you that. You might as well go home.
He did already tell us.
I already told
for
you.
those of you who don't know about the east
Now
side,
you believe me.
yeah,
I'll tell you.
I mean,
you might as well go home.
Years ago, it was the cottage cheese, and it had horseradish in it. So there was a little bit of a bite to it with a few chives in there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you'd eat that thing on saltines until the cows came home. So to show up there and, where's my cottage cheese? It's not on the table.
It's a
was a
sin.
big
It's a
problem.
sin on east side, so we make sure we carry plenty of that. But that is the challenging part, is to make
Yeah.
sure product, how much product you got to make tonight. And then again, you don't want to make too much that you lose it.
Right.
And freshness is excellent. If it's not fresh, it loses 20%. If vegetables and stuff are not fresh, the next day, 20% goes right off the product.
Okay. So now that's going to go in the oven?
Yes.
And how long are you going to bake that for, Sherry?
45 minutes. And you'll see it turn golden brown. And you'll actually see the sides bubbling, and that's when you'll know it's done.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and put that one in. And this is the one that just came out.
Yes.
Okay. And now I see a little bit of parsley.
Yep.
Do you tend to put your herb, and let me move this one over into the mirror. Do you put all your herbs on after the cooking process?
Yes.
All
yes.
right.
I just did it for garnish for today, but
Okay.
as we're plating, we'll put our garnishes before it goes out the door.
Let's talk about plating a minute. You guys have, and we were talking about the menu at the east side, okay? It's a little bit different from, I want to say an ordinary restaurant. That's really not the right word, but a more generic type of food. You have some real specialty items that you're offering. So not only is the food a specialty, you can't get sauerbraten everywhere, okay? But now how you're putting it together on that plate, because the whole Bavarian style of the restaurant, the destination restaurant, that all comes into it. So do you guys decide how that happens?
We had a very good trainer, which was Bill. He showed us his way. His way was not authentic, but it was business. There's a lot of different ways of cooking. You can cook like Mama at home, who's cooking for 8,
Right.
and spend a lot of love and a lot of time, or you can go to a restaurant and cook for 600. Their style of cooking is a little bit different because they can manage it.
Okay.
If we're cooking, say, 400 pounds of sauerbraten, it's pretty hard to manage that the same way Grandma manages it.
Right.
So what it is we get creative to come out with what is best, that we can produce the product in our kitchen, get it out to the people. It's got to be 80% or higher on likability, and that's usually the restaurant percentage. We're an 80% type of business.
How do you find that out?
They will let you know.
The customer?
Most
Is that
certainly.
part of the wait staff? If I'm a wait staff employee, is that what I have to say? How was your dinner? Of course, it was fine, thank you. No, how did you like that? Or will they say, gee, I really did
We
like
have a
that?
lot better ways today than my father did back then. Today, they'll go right on Yelp. They'll go right into the computer and say, I went there, didn't like their Kessler Ripken.
See?
Their Kessler Ripken was too thin, I didn't get a good enough portion. Or every time I go there, you don't have Kessler Ripken.
What is that?
That's a smoked pork chop.
Okay.
Very good.
Oh.
Very, very good.
Is that a special that sometimes you run, Sherry?
No, that's on
That's
our
all
menu.
is on the menu?
Yeah, and it's a smoked pork chop, big time. Really
So
good.
you now, okay, we're talking about the whole, and we're going to try this in a minute, but we're talking about the cooking element, but now we're talking about the business a little bit. Because also you've got to spend some time out on the internet reading and seeing what did they really say.
Exactly. And we do hire a person that comes to our meeting every Tuesday we have a comment box.
Okay.
We have a log. Any problem that a customer has, you have to log it. We'll bring it to our meeting Tuesday mornings. Tuesday mornings from 9 to 11 is our general management meeting. And we go over every complaint to see.
You do?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, that's really interesting to know.
You learn what your customers say. And sometimes it's not, and believe me, I automatically got an ego about it. If you say something's wrong with my restaurant, I always get offensive. I always think, not my restaurant, what do you mean you did it? And that's what the restaurant business is all about. Our egos in our business is that we want to do a very, very good job. And like I said, I'm always in the front. I usually get the first hand of it. Customer don't
Yeah.
like something, hey, Nick,
Yeah.
come on over.
Yeah.
And then I'd come over, and the next thing you know, they'll tell me their complaint. I'll clean it up immediately. And most complaints we can clean up. The biggest complaint I have is people waiting to sit.
Uh-huh.
You got there at 8 o'clock, and I didn't sit until 8:45. And that is a major complaint because we're doing 600 people. The problem with that complaint is you're sitting there. You had dinner. Your other two couples that were coming with you showed up 45 minutes late for dinner. We can't serve you without serving them. So automatically, you're eating up the second seating's time that made the reservation.
Yeah.
So
And
you
now
don't
you're
wanna rush
comfortable.
them. Now
Now
they're
you have a
comfortable.
drink.
They
Now
just
you're
had a dinner. They don't want to get up at 8
No,
o'clock.
they don't want to get up.
Now all of a sudden the customer says, hey, I made a reservation. So it's very hard to look at them and say, as soon as this customer get up, because we're
Right.
sold out. If we had
Right.
another table, we'd give it to you. So that makes it kind of a
Yeah, there's
challenge
a lot to move around, and I suppose that's where your hospitality comes from, and having a seat in the bar area.
You know how I
or-
cured that?
How?
I got a sign. I had one of my chefs who does woodworking, and he made a sign. It's called Waiting Beer. And it's spelled Waiting Beer. And it's on a beautiful old board that I pulled out of the restaurant, and we did it in gold. So when the customer comes in and they're waiting for a table now, and this only started 6 weeks ago, I go around with a pallet of 6-ounce beers. And I tell them, this is a Vosteiner. It's a Pilsner beer. You want to try a waiting beer? Waiting beer? You mean we're going to drink beer while we wait? Can I tell you, that took a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure because now they got something to talk about.
Right.
They wanted their beer. That's what they came for. They got a taster of it, free.
Right,
You know,
right.
and the companies like me supporting their beer and explaining what their beer
Sure,
is.
that's a great
So-
idea because
so-
now you can talk about that. And I want to bring that up in another show. We're going to talk about the wines and the beers and what you allow a distributor to bring in. And maybe there may be a very good product, but it's not selling.
Yeah.
So you don't want to keep it around.
If it don't sell, it's got to go.
It's got to go. But now you've invited that. Now that person's part of the dining experience because they've got something in their hand, right? So now they're already started the dining
Well, the
experience.
first thing they say is, I never heard of it. Do you believe they give waiting beer here? They're promoting
Yeah.
me by themselves.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I get out there, and I'm the hottest tick. I'm their
Yeah.
best friend right then.
Yeah.
And I get to talk to them. And then when their other guests come in waiting, they get a waiting beer, get a waiting beer. So it became from a problem child
Yeah.
to a beautiful child.
beautiful
Now all of a
child.
sudden they're able to drink waiting baby beers.
And Sherry's going to plate some of that up for us, and that looks so good. Thank you. And we have to try this. Now, I didn't see you put the red onion in.
Nope, that's the potato.
That's the potato. There is no red onion in here. Okay, so that was the edge of the potato.
Did you do this exceptionally because it's us?
Sherry,
proud.
that is delicious.
Look at
Now,
this.
that is really delicious, and there's a little bit of a bite to it, and I can't figure out what that is.
Pepper.
Pepper.
Now,
Another good showing.
I know. See, every time I go, I always choose the potato pancake because it's my favorite and because I can't make it very good at home. But this is outstanding. Are there certain dishes that is the au gratin potato or the customer can choose?
I think it's the customer. And we only do them on weekends. We don't do a gratin potatoes during the week because we have so many starches. We have a spetzel, we have a potato pancake,
Oh, I forgot about
we
that.
got mashed potatoes. And so during the week, you have too many potatoes, it's not sensible. But we do them on weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Now, Sherry, if somebody wants to try this at home, because that's what we're doing this show for, is to say to you at home, give this a try, all right? It may take a couple of times till you get it to the part where you want it to be or even where it would taste like what Sherry's put together. Are there any tips for somebody at home? Of course, you're going to make a smaller casserole maybe if you don't have a large family. But, or better yet, why go through the problem? Make the whole thing, and we're going to show the viewers in the next
Corn
show
chowder.
what to do, how
Corn
to
chowder.
repurpose.
Yeah.
Why go through all that for a little thing?
Right.
True, true, true.
True.
Very good. Okay, so any tips for the home cook to say, okay, where's some areas that they can go wrong with this?
In the cheese sauce.
Yeah.
As long as you do not boil the cheese sauce, you're fine. I would say, and also when you're thickening the cheese sauce, don't over thicken it. But basically, it's
How'd you
fairly
thicken it?
easy.
With the roux, right?
With a roux,
With the
yes.
roux.
And me, I would always try to over thicken that sauce because I
Yes.
go, oh, it's not
not gonna be
thick
thick
enough.
enough.
yet. And then you'd
The
slap
starch
it
in
in
the
there.
potato.
The starch of
Next thing you know,
potato.
you're cutting cake. Instead of
That's
squeezing
why
it.
the starch in the potato
Yes.
brings it out.
Another thing I think is overcooking the potato too. You really don't want to overcook. You want to finish cooking it in the oven
Right.
for 45 minutes.
We didn't talk about what kind of potato we're supposed to use for this.
We use a red potato because we use those for our mashed potatoes. We use them for our gratin potatoes. And
All of it? You use the red for all of it?
red, and we like the skins. We're not in the potato peeling business. We like the skins on it. We think they're nourishment. We think it's old world. They never
It
did
is,
it in
and
the old world.
it's pretty.
And it's pretty.
You know, they're such a beautiful color, and I think that even for the mashed potatoes, do you peel for
Yeah.
the mashed potatoes? No.
No.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of nutrients in that, and now we'll just finish up today because we have. This is a series of shows, which is really great because the Augustinos are going to be with us for a whole series, so we can learn all kinds of things and hear more and more stories and more about the restaurant. But people are really conscious about eating healthy, and so this is a dish that has a little bit more. You know, you've got your cream sauce in there, not a lot of butter.
Nope.
So, what would be a way to just knock down the fat content a little bit,
Skim.
Yeah, you can use skim milk.
and it will come up just
You can
as
use
nice?
you can use half skim and a little bit of water actually too.
Half skim
can
and a
wa-
little bit of water.
Yep, you can water it down a little bit. Yep.
Okay, and it will still, you'll still get a little bit
Yep.
of the consistency that you need. So
Yeah. Well, basically, it's all about chicken-based too. It gives you a flavor too.
true. Your stock. Okay, well, we're gonna take this pan of au gratin potatoes and we're gonna do something special with it on our next show. So please stay with us, and thank you again for coming in today. We appreciate
Tiki-taki,
it.
tiki-taki, hoy, hoy, hoy!
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.